This is a career methods tape. One of the key methods for developing your career, from 150 people who had great careers that I studied, and then that I've taught it to 300 seminar students all over China and Japan and University of Chicago. One of the key methods, and I have 100 of them in my book, Are You Effective? 100 Methods Everyone Should Know. But one of the methods is extremely powerful, and it has to do with treating large organizations that you join as an audience of performances you do. Now the question is, how do you do astonishing performances that astonish an organization within 6, 8, 9 months of hire? And you have to listen to, and here's step one, listen to what the CEO says very, very exactly and precisely and carefully that the organization needs to be doing more of that it's not doing now, and needs to be doing less of than it is doing now. And then look at how your own section of the organization is violating or ignoring or slighting or moving slowly on that. And then work whatever your immediate job and boss are pointing you at in a way that can overlap some key vital part of what the CEO is asking for that he's not getting much of. The key to this is that CEOs are very lonely, rich, somewhat thieving people who have a sense of powerlessness because so much of their role is merely ceremonial and getting rich. And they don't do much to actually reshape things. As James March studied them, he found that they took credit for luck and they avoided credit for bad luck, and that was the primary method in their career building. And looking like something was really most of it. And therefore, you need to play to them as your audience, your first audience. They are a very useful, focused, powerful audience, and they need people like you moving in the direction they asked for to show the rest of the people that motion in that direction is possible and profitable and helps everything. They need examples that their ideas work and their direction they pointed out works. And most of the powerful people who've been a long time in the organization have long habits of ignoring that stuff. And if you're new to the organization, or a beginner in the organization, or a semi-outsider to the organization, you can use your freshness to, in a pure, very focused, but powerful way, do exactly what the CEO is asking until the upper managers around you, and it'll usually be the manager above your manager, or 2 levels above your manager rather than your local manager. So you need to find a competency that allows you to get to 1 and 2 layers above your management as an audience too. So the CEO is your primary audience. You want to perform for him. But you need an avenue to get to his attention so that he can then ask for your performance in more fullness. And so the way to do that is a competency. So you've got this project and this thing you create and can do with your local limited circumstances that overlaps what the CEO is asking for. But then how do you bring it to his attention? Well, your immediate boss will either steal it from you or be too stupid to support it, and kill it if he finds out about it. So you usually have to hide it from him one way or the other. And his boss may or may not be helpful. It's very risky because the middle managers are not very bright. And they're very nervous because they're in the middle and they're stealing ideas from everybody they can. So you can't trust them very well. But the vice president and direct report to the vice president level, these are the guys who want to impress the CEO with how smart they are and what they can do to move in his direction. So you want to get to them. How do you get to them? The avenue to get to them has to do with actually presentation skills. Great presentation skills. Presentations that bring the house down. And there's a very simple method for this. It's in my book. But basically, you find a local conference series that has written evaluations of each session. And you, if it meets regularly, I found one in southern Michigan that meets 6 times a year. Different conferences with different themes, that's 6 times a year. And I presented at every one of their conferences for 3 years in a row. And I started out, I got the worst evaluations of all the speakers at the first event. And the second event was not a lot better. By the third event, I started listening to the written feedback about how to improve on my evaluation forms. And I found out that really helped me a lot. And I didn't agree with a lot of it. I didn't like a lot of it, but I just did it because the audience, as I said, are smarter than me. And so I did what they asked for, and they loved me. And then I did more of what they asked for, and they loved me more. And then within 3 years, I was the best rated speaker at all those events. And I've got it written up in my book, and you can look at it. But those are the two things you need for this particular method, which is you want to play to the CEO, but you have no way of getting your idea even to his attention unless you have a skill or a competency that gets you seen by the people directly reporting to him or one level below them. And that's great presentations where your local little boss will have a little tiny 20, 30-minute segment in front of the VP, and he'll rotate 5 or 6 of you guys there, and you really shine in presenting, and he's going to look better if you are one of those 6 guys because you will be noticed. And then you do twice for that VP what you do for your own boss. And so you really step it up for the VP beyond anything you've shown your boss. Please do not show anything, everything to your boss. You cannot trust them. In middle management, you cannot trust them at all. So show enough to shine for the middle management, and believe me, shining to middle managers is really easy because corporations are filled with zombie horde gray guys copying each other. So you just have to have a little bit of a brain and personality to outshine them. But you got that avenue, and then you got your CEO as the main audience you first play to. And you get that one presentation in front of the CEO that just slays the whole house, and the CEO turns to somebody and says, who is that guy? And I haven't seen him before. Where did he come from? And where is he headed? And who's in charge of him? And he's got something on the ball. He can do something for us. I need to know more about him. And that's it. That's the audience. You got him. You got the audience. And then in reports and writing, he looks for that name of yours. He looks for that name. And so anything else that comes across his desk with that name on it, and it gets read, it gets noticed. So that's this first thing.